Alrighty, everybody, welcome to the LTA show. I'm your host, Felix, the Asian, Felix Miyago. Today I got a special guest. I got Devin. Met him at Trader Joe's, I want to say 2019? 2019?
Yeah, I would say about, that's right.
And then, Devin's been doing his own thing, and we met up again. It's good to see you again. Give yourself a little bit of an intro, a little background information about yourself.
Yeah, nice to see you, Felix. It's been a long time since we've met or hung out, I guess. I met Felix in 2019 when I was working at Trader Joe's. I worked there, I think, like senior year in high school, and right now I've just been doing my own thing. Right now, what I do is I own a social media marketing agency, and I recently just started that, and that's basically what most of my day's like.
Nice. Busy every day?
Yeah, just grinding.
Mm-hmm. I know when we were working together, we were talking a little bit about like our future plans, and I know you decided not to go to college. And that's totally fine. And then you said you wanted to go to the military, which kind of like surprised me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, at the time.
Because you're like thinking about it, like it was during senior year. You like were deciding if you want to go into military, and then what your plans are going to be like during that next year.
Mm-hmm. So, just so you know, like I'm not a big fan of college, but like I'm all for education.
Mm-hmm.
I have nothing against education. In fact, like I'm more into it than you would say the average college student.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was working at Trader Joe's, like the whole plan was after high school I would enlist, and at the time I was working out and training full time to become part of the military. Like I was really heavily influenced by like these guys that were Navy SEALs, or like these Olympic athletes, or that were phenomenal athletes. And at the time that inspired me I wanted to join Special Forces. And so I was mostly training, and I had this burning desire to become one of those guys. But I think later when COVID hit, I started hanging out with my family more, and you know, when you make a goal, I usually expect the worst to happen. And usually for military, it's death. That's the worst. And I don't think I was ready to make the anticipated sacrifice, even if it wasn't one. So for now, I've put that on hold, and I started doing some other things that I could also put my all into.
Nice. And are you still doing rock climbing? Because I know you were working, I think, part-time, or as like an instructor, or... Mm-hmm. Have you still been doing that?
Yeah, so right now I'm a rock climbing coach for the team at Planet Granite. It's pretty awesome. I actually just had my first shift in like a whole year after COVID.
Wow.
Yeah, so I guess I was technically laid off, but I started my first shift again. It's pretty cool. Just getting back into it, the climbing aspect. Dude, a lot of people like they're coming back to the gym, and they're like all like, they're not like ripped, but they're like, everyone's basically restarting from where, no, they're like restarting. Everyone's kind of weak from where they were, you know? So.
Trying to get back on the game.
Yeah, everyone's like that right now, which I totally understand.
That's interesting. I mean, I'm sure it must have been like a different mindset shift during the whole pandemic for yourself, because, you had a lot of free time probably, and since you weren't going to school, you probably found something to do to keep yourself busy.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of humility and starting over.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you also said that you were gaming a lot, I think, during the pandemic, right?
Yeah, I was.
Playing a lot of Valorant, because that was the...
a little league.
The biggest game.
CS, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know when Valorant came out, but I was playing CS a lot at the time too. And then when Valorant came out, I hopped on that, and I think I was like one of the lowest ranks when I started out. I don't, the ranks, like I was like silver 1, whatever, but I don't think I ever played for fun, because when I did play, I had like the sole purpose as like the lowest rank ever to play professionally. And I think in a few months, I got to like the top 200 in North America.
What? You didn't tell me that part.
Yeah, so that was kind of cool. Yeah, I got to play with a bunch of like pros, and yeah, it's awesome.
Do you remember any of the names that you played with?
Yeah, if you're familiar with like Valorant or like CS, like I played with Jordan Fisher, if you know who that is. He's like he's like a guy on no, that's someone else. But Jordan Fisher's like a Broadway star and like an actor. I can't take some people off the top of my head. I played with Tens, and I carried him for. He's like, I guess, the best player.
He is.
But yeah. Anyways, yeah, I got top 200 out of like however million people play. But I'm not like the greatest or anything. I just grinded the hell out of that. And then later on, I decided joining a team, and then our team was pretty stacked. And then I think we made it to like top 100 teams in North America, something like that.
Dang.
So that was pretty cool. I didn't play professionally though, unfortunately.
You were close to.
I was. But yeah.
That is very cool. I don't think many can say I played with the greatest player ever.
I guess not. It's kind of...
What are you about to say?
When you play a game, like, it's kind of funny because like everyone knows each other, because like everyone gets in the same exact matches. So like you always like play with your friends, even if you don't want to. You'll get into like a game and like, oh hey, there's Felix on another team.
Is it really that close? Like you just know each other once you're at that rank?
Yeah, basically. Like usually there's like the kids that play at like 3 a.m. in the morning, and then you always get against like the same people because there's like no one playing at that time.
Wow.
But yeah, I stopped doing that because I don't know, when you grind like a game, like a lot of like what's it called, video game culture, like entrepreneur culture, like all of it's like grind all day, like play like 10 to 16 hours a day. Or like work 10 to 16 hours a day if you're like a business owner, like an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And like you're bound to have like some mental health issues if you just exhaust yourself. So, I had to stop that and balance my life out.
It's good that you've recognized that and took a step back and took a break for yourself. Because I think a lot of people, especially gamers, don't realize that they're actually burnt out when they're playing, and they just don't realize how much of a toll it's already taken on them.
Dude, for sure. And like I was watching, I think like a video of like a streamer, or he's like a pro player, and he said, I haven't met a single person besides me that plays this professionally that doesn't have a mental health problem. Is not depressed, that doesn't have severe like anxiety. He hasn't met a single professional player that's ever had one of those problems except him.
Wow.
So, like that's like a big issue that I don't think it's really addressed as much in that side of the world.
I think to add on to the point, like for a lot of mental health, I think it's also happened with like sports, like track and field. There's a lot of athletes now, like, and I'm sure you've probably heard this, but during the Olympics, there was a gymnast. I think
Simone Biles, yeah.
Yeah, she opened up and was like, I want to take a break for myself, and she got a lot of hate for that. I think just like now athletes are starting to realize like how much pressure they're gonna be dealt with in terms of trying to meet the expectation, especially at that level where everything counts. You've like trained for 4 years, probably even longer, just to like compete at that one time. And you know, people are just like overwhelmed. I mean, because you know, when you're doing sports, you have to figure out a balance between like work, you know, and if you're a college student, you're, you know, trying to maintain going to classes, and then, you know, maintaining, you know, training days. I think just a lot of athletes are now starting to recognize that or realize, and like, you know, slightly improved with like mental health, but I think it's definitely need to be addressed more in every sport.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
For the Simone Biles, I think there's another allegation, which is probably the reason why she stopped. But yeah, totally on like athletes. They have I think they're called sports psychologists now, where their sole purpose and their sole job is when you hire them for an athlete, it's all mindset. It's literally all mindset, all what you're focusing on and your thoughts. And yeah, like for athletes especially, it's like it's way more than like I don't know how you describe it. Like it's more than 5% mental. It's way more than that, and physical.
Yeah. I mean, you know, with the podcasts that we've listened to, I know you mentioned like Jocko, and yeah, he talks a lot about like mental awareness, and like, you know, David Goggins. I know we've probably both read his book, heard about him,
Right.
And he's like definitely a tough dude, but he mentions a lot about like mental aspect, because, you know, your body's trying to like force you to prevent itself from hurting. It's like a defensive mechanism, but like the mind is just, you know, a big hurdle you got to get over, and then it helps you like unlock or unleash more potential in you. Because I think he mentions like you're only using like 40%, and like I don't know, that kind of hit. I was like, wow, kind of just like doubt ourselves and what we're capable of.
For sure. And shoot, there's a study done. You know, I can't like give the correct statistics or whatever.
It's all good. I mean,
But there's a study done on how the brain impacts muscle growth, or sorry, muscle strength. And they had like 3 groups. One was like a control group that did nothing. One was a group that they did their own bicep exercises for like a few weeks or maybe a month. And then the third one, that instead of doing the actual bicep exercise, they had them listening to like an audio program where they visualized themselves working out their biceps. And then they found that within that month, so obviously the control group that did nothing improved 0%. And then the guys that did work out their biceps improved 28%, and the ones that did the mental exercise of imagining themselves doing the bicep was 24%.
wow.
So it's like about the same if they were guided through it. And
Wow.
dude, it's so totally true. It's completely crazy. Like they improved their strength just like imagining it. So yeah, it's like a huge difference. Imagine what a sports psychologist could do for you if you're like an extreme athlete. Like how much more you could do if you weren't like taking advantage of what you already have.
Yeah, I think,
So,
I mean,
that gets me excited.
there's, when you mentioned that study, another one that popped up in my mind was, I mean, don't quote me on it. I don't know the exact thing, but I know they had 2 different groups, and they had 3 groups. Control was, they were shooting a basketball, like from a 3-point, and they just kept doing, control was they didn't practice their throws at all. And then the experimental group, one of them, they had their group practice physically shooting it. And then the third group, yeah, it's out of focus, it keeps doing that.
Okay.
And then the last group was they just imagined themselves shooting the 3-point shot without actually doing it. And like to add on to it, I think they like did almost as good as the people that actually practiced. Yeah, it's interesting what the mind is capable of doing to yourself. It kind of just reprograms yourself. It can be a good thing. It can be a bad thing. It just really depends on how you use it.
I was I was reading this book, and it's called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. You've probably heard of it. It's pretty popular. And he told the story about his son where he was born deaf, and he was born with no ears, and he was born with like no like connection from his like ear area of his ear to his brain. Mm-hmm. So there's like nothing that could translate noise into hearing. Mm-hmm. And so, but the thing is, they refused to accept like their deaf child as deaf. They of course they accepted him, but they refused to believe that he was deaf. Mm-hmm. Or accept that he did. So they had like this burning desire for him to hear. Mm-hmm. And later on in his life, he was high school age, and he tried on one of those what's called those earpieces, those hearing aids, and it didn't work. And later they tried again, and growing up, this kid was not even taught. He was never taught sign language. Was able to feel the vibrations through his feel vibrations and be able to translate them into like a sort of like hearing, but he was never able to exactly hear. Mm-hmm. And so growing up, he would like bite on music boxes. Really? And because the noise what's it called? It conducts through the box through his teeth, and he could hear in his brain. And then eventually, because they were trying and trying for him to hear, and they believed that he could hear, eventually he tried on a new hearing aid and was able to hear, which was impossible because there's no canal from his where his ear would be to his brain. And so that's just through like mentality alone.
Wow.
So like
that is inspirational.
Yeah, like I guess desire outwits Mother Nature.
Yeah, if you got the grit mentality and you got the right support group, you could achieve anything.
Perhaps.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. I feel like I know we talked about it before the podcast, but we can both agree that high school didn't really teach us much.
Yeah.
In terms of just like preparing us for the real world. Because all they really taught us, I feel like, is just memorize and then regurgitate everything that you just learned. Mm-hmm. But, like in life, you need to do taxes. Everybody's got to do that. Everybody's got to, get a job, file, savings and all that sort of stuff. I feel like they should have added like a workshop or like, on a special day dedicated just to like help high school students get an understanding of what life is going to be like past college, or maybe even leading up to it, Mm-hmm. Like preparedness, instead of just like, you got to study, get good grades, and then just apply to colleges and hope you get into the one you want.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like school hasn't really changed much. I know you mentioned it before the podcast about like the Cold War and like how it hasn't even changed.
Yeah.
In history all this time, like, because we keep advancing. We've got new cars, we got new technology, but like school really hasn't changed. Mm-hmm.
Like in reality now, like there's jobs like social media marketing, like an agency, like what I do, didn't exist like 20 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of jobs that are now that are really like available, like graphic design, all these new tech jobs, they didn't exist 20 years ago. So it's kind of hard for a school to prepare you. How do you prepare for a job that doesn't exist right now? Mm-hmm. So like whatever, in 10 years they're gonna have some crazy like VR jobs or some shit. And I don't know, this is just my take, but I think high school mainly prepares you for college, and then college prepares you for whatever degree you're getting. But yeah, they don't. Yeah, like you said, they don't teach you taxes. They don't teach you about the Federal Reserve. Not really. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had to take my own financial literacy classes to like actually learn a little bit about, even through school, of I don't know,
just
financial
like all the terms
and about money that
yeah.
I think the average person should know, which is ridiculous. But yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it should just be like kind of like common knowledge,
Yeah.
but instead it's not. It's just like you kind of just learn either later on, or you like learn the hard way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I wonder why that is. I'm sure like not all schools in every country are like this.
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously, we have a decent education compared to some other countries, but it could be better.
Yeah.
Pretty easy switch. Pretty easy.
I feel like you mentioned a really good point, which was like schools don't really help you focus on what you're good at. They kind of just, want you to quickly know everything. I don't know. I feel like they just doesn't really feel like it's a one-on-one. It's more like, and I get it. School is supposed to teach majority of the people, not like work one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like, every student learns differently, and some students just prefer subjects like science more than reading or English, and it's important to know like those common things, but I feel like they should just kind of dedicate a little bit more time on what everyone's good at.
Yeah. Like, yeah, some people are naturally better at math, so like,
Mm-hmm.
I think school like should mainly be finding out what your strengths and weaknesses are, and then people go out of college, like, maybe they move to a new place and they don't know what they're good at and what they're bad at. So I think I guess it should be more about like tasting from the buffet of life, trying everything that you haven't before, so you know what's up.
Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting. I mean, school's slightly getting better. I mean, there's new buildings being introduced, new departments, but I don't know. I just feel like school's just kind of behind from the rest of everything else going on. I don't know.
So you said you want to talk about you wanted to talk about what I do now, correct?
Yeah. What are you gonna do now?
Okay, so now I own a social media marketing agency, and how it works is we provide services to like brands and businesses online for services such as like websites, Google SEO, like verification on social media, social growth, PR, stuff like that. And basically, the type of business model that we have is called a white labeling business model. Are you familiar what that is? I remember we went over that a little bit.
So you kind of described it. I mean, I could be saying it wrong, but it's you're basically you're kind of like the middleman of everything. Like you have the connection to help the customer get the product or what they're asking for, and then you get to create a certain price because you have the connection with the provider. Or, I don't know. You're gonna have to explain it to me again and to the viewers.
Okay, so if you haven't heard of what white labeling is, it refers to a sort of partnership where there's company A, and they produce the services and the goods, and they sell those services and goods to company B, and that company B markets whatever they're selling and sells them to the customer. And so company A focuses on the manufacturing and fulfillment part, and company B focuses on the marketing and selling part to the customer. And so the reason why it's useful and it's effective is because they can both specialize. One will specialize in marketing and selling. One will specialize in actually producing, manufacturing, creating, and fulfilling the services. So the way company B benefits is because they can slap on their own logo, they can slap on their own brand, and so the customer believes that they're buying they're buying the product directly from company B. If that makes sense. So I could use this in Trader Joe's, like in the context of Trader Joe's. So Trader Joe's is company B, right? They go to Lay's, they go to Naked, and they say, hey, we like your chips, we like your juice. We would like to buy from you at a wholesale rate, and we'll buy from you in bulk. And Lay's and Naked are like, okay, that's awesome, let's do it. So they sell Trader Joe's their products, and Trader Joe's can slap their own brand, they can slap their own logo on, and then that partnership enables Trader Joe's for them to put it in their shop, in their store. And that way the customers can buy directly to from Trader Joe's, and they don't have to worry about Trader Joe's doesn't have to worry about creating their own food. They don't have their own factories.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the basic concept. And what I do is, I'm company B, and I sell directly to businesses and customers, and I rely on my partner, which is Monopolize, and they do the fulfillment services for me.
Wow. Now, what made you want to kind of go into that?
Into that specific thing.
Yeah, white labeling. Did you hear about it from a video, or somebody told you about it?
So another form of it is dropshipping. You've probably heard of dropshipping, or e-com kind of stores.
Yep.
And that's mostly having solely a website and driving traffic to there, and you get your products from AliExpress or something. But with this way, I can sell, and that's normally, by the way, dropshipping is normally to the consumer, to the average consumer, the average buyer looking online. But what I do is I sell specifically to businesses and to other brands that are looking to grow their own business. And so I chose that because I can have a bigger impact overall of promoting businesses that I share values with. So obviously I'm not going to work with a tobacco company or something that doesn't have the same values as I do. But yeah, I can impact, if you zoom out, you can impact way more people. You can impact their customers by building and sharing their product and service that I also believe in.
Huh. You want to be part of the partnering process and see the result with the consumer.
I would say they're also easier to work with, because they're just a lot easier to work with, because you can have less clients and still make. You can have less clients, whereas dropshipping you need tons and tons of customers.
Huh.
But yeah.
That's very interesting.
I'm still learning and stuff, so right now I'm still figuring out how to best provide my services. And yeah, I'm still learning a lot more about the industry. So I'm in that stage of the process. But yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, we got a minute left. Any final thoughts, final things you want to say? I always have the guest close it out as well.
No, thanks Felix for having me on. I appreciate this. Really cool talking to you. Yeah, I'd love to talk again sometime. And yeah, thanks for having me on.
Alright, we can end it there then.
Yeah.